Good morning, YouTube. Welcome back to Nutkin Farm. I'm here on a big post-rain mowing drive, getting ready for harvesting. Where the first harvest is a bit delayed when it's come in mid-April, but it's actually going to happen tomorrow and the next day. So yeah, mid-April 2021 will be my first harvest for 2021. We'll get into that in a minute. Introducing you here to my mower. It's a Kubota zero turn with a side discharge out the right, and it's been a pretty faithful performer for the most part, although it had some problems under warranty, and no machine is perfect, but I'm reasonably happy with this one. It's pretty good on some steep slopes as well, particularly with retrofitting these bear claw tyres to the tread, which is very, very decent on sloping soil. The tyres that it comes with out of the factory are these fellas, which are great for golf courses, not great for macadamia farms unless you're on very flat ground. They cause minimal turf damage, of course, but those particular treads can fill up with mud with almost any excuse. Now onto the crop. Well, there's good news and bad news, and we'll start with the bad. Here at the top of my blocks, which were the ones, I'm pretty sure the trees that were originally planted by the first owner, I'm walking along here, and what you can't see on the ground is nut, or at least there are some. You can see like bits and pieces of nuts there, but it's not, for the first harvest, a thick drop on the ground. Now this is where it becomes important to know what you're growing, because these trees we've identified almost, certainly as 344s, and 344s by April are meant to have dropped a lot of their nut. And because rain acts hormonally on trees and prompts them to drop their nut, and we've had so much rain in this season, you would have thought that you'd get a fairly decent drop of most of the crop by now, and there's an example of a nice nut, but there aren't that many of them, unfortunately. So I worried about it when it came to flowering this season, because I couldn't see that much flower on my trees, on my 344s, and of course not much flower means not much nut. And while the trees had, the soil tests were okay, there seemed to be enough nutrition in the soil and in the leaf, the 344s, which some people call a biennial tree, have more or less proved biennial in this case. I mean, there's some there. It's definitely worth running the harvester over them to pick them up, but we're not talking about a large amount of crop. And that's disappointing, definitely compared to last year, where in drought conditions these trees did very well indeed. But I'll show you a contrast between those trees at the top of the block and some trees down at the base. These are trees which my agronomist thinks are 800s, and they're normally late droppers. But I had a visit yesterday from my main harvest contractor at MWT, and he's saying even the late dropping varieties like the 849s are dropping their crops now, possibly in response to all this rain. So it's a bit of an interesting contrast. My agronomist also thinks that possibly there's more nut down the bottom of my block because it's been washed there by the rain. That I'm a bit more cynical about, I have to say, because they all look like nuts that have dropped from the local trees. But the herbicide's sort of held up, but you can see grass growing back in the interrow. Grass at this level doesn't bother a harvester, but there's parts of the farm where we're going to have to definitely mow either right after the harvest or alongside the harvest, and they do another pass to try and pick up all the nut that is here. A bit more effort required this year because of all the rain. So we get down to our more spreading trees at the block. This is at the block of the base of block 5, but it's the same on the base of all my other old blocks as well. all of a sudden there's a change in the variety of tree and you start seeing more nut on the ground. We're not quite there yet. It's the problem with live recording. I can't really fast forward for you. But yes, the nut's starting to get thicker on the ground as we get down into these other varieties of tree. And there's really, you know, quite a worthwhile crop to pick up once you get down to this level. And the finger wheels of the harvesters won't have any problems with these. They'll probably just have a reasonable pickup. But here, we're starting to see crop much more thickly on the ground. And it's good stuff. I can hear just heard another nut dropping then. And there should be something worth harvesting for. Not all the nuts are big, but they're definitely a fair bit, and they're reasonably thick on the ground. So that's going to be basically the start of the harvest for 2021, and we'll see later what sort of crop ends up in the skip bin. Might do another video on that, but you know, we've got some other things in the pipeline that I want to show you as well, and stay tuned to the channel. I'll be bringing those to you soon. Anyway, lovely crisp morning here at Nutkin Farm, and hope you're having a nice morning wherever you are. Catch you soon, and I will show you some more of the harvest process. See you later.